I can't see you waving.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
My friends, we are on episode 29 of the Gwen Effect podcast, and we are sitting with somebody very near and dear to our community. Shae has not only beat cancer once, not twice, but 3 times. So we're going to give a little bit of a clap around for our dear friend. Not beat it, but kicked its ass. So saying that, I would love to introduce you to our friend, Shae. Is it Shay-Lynn?
It's Shay-Lynn, but you can call me Shae.
Shae.
Yeah.
We're like on that terms now. Shae.
We've built that in the last 10 minutes. Hey, Shae.
Yeah.
Shae, welcome to the couch of the Gwen Effect podcast. We are so excited to have you here with us.
That was cute. Welcome to the couch.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like Drew Barrymore.
Welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch.
Come
on
on
the studio,
over to the
Riverside Studio.
We always fuck that up.
Sorry, Joey. We love you.
So Shae, tell us a little bit, like kind of like a brief intro
on yourself.
Like you have grown up in this area your whole life.
Yes, I grew up in Tamworth.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 26 years old, and in March 2020, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And from there, I went on, had lots of treatments, and then I had a stem cell transplant. And then after the stem cell transplant, I was good for a bit, and then I relapsed again. And so then I had a CAR T transplant, again, more treatment as well. And then after that, I was good. Thought I was in the clear officially, and then I relapsed again. So
I'm going to dig heavy into this.
I have so many questions.
Yeah. What was life prior to the diagnosis, not like mentally, emotionally, physically for you?
So like prior to originally being diagnosed the first time, I was in school at U Ottawa. I was taking psychology.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was in my 4th year.
4 years.
Yeah.
How long is the program?
4 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
So you're
was
at the end
in
of
my
it.
last year. And that's when like COVID hit. And then that's also when COVID was like starting to hit and everything was like shutting down. I was like starting to feel really like crappy and not feeling good at all. And then I was like trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And originally I thought it was COVID.
Yeah.
So it was like sick symptoms, like flu-like symptoms?
Yeah. It was the biggest like symptom that I had was migraines.
Okay.
So I've never really gotten migraines. I've gotten headaches, but not like such bad migraines. And I had it for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was just like getting like so exhausting.
Were they treating like your migraines at the time? Thinking
Yeah.
that it was just migraines?
Yeah. So I went to
Not just migraines either. I get
yeah.
migraines and they're insane.
They are insane. Yeah. And
They're crippling.
Yeah, they were. And like the lighting was like bothering me in like class. I could go to class for a while. And then
Is this lighting bothering you?
no. That was just
We will turn all the lights off. We'll sit in the dark if you need to.
So yeah, I was literally just a normal person, like normal girl, just doing my thing. And yeah, my life changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it started with the migraines, and then like, was it aches and pains? Was it fatigue?
Yeah, it was lots of fatigue. I was really tired. And then I started getting like a fever.
Okay.
But like just low grade, and I was like sweating it out at nighttime. And then like the chills and stuff. And then I was having really shortness of breath.
Okay.
And I couldn't even make it up the stairs without like pretty much collapsing and
Wow.
like trying to grab my breath.
Were you living at home, back home then because of COVID or
Yes.
with your family?
Yeah, so I was in Gatineau, living in Gatineau, going to school in Ottawa. And then when I got sick and COVID kind of shut down, I moved home to Tamworth with my parents. So my parents live in a 3-story house. So the stairs were really, really
Yeah.
difficult for me at that time.
No kidding, you thought you had COVID because a big thing with COVID was the shortness of breath.
And there's like long COVID and
Yeah, and at the time, all the symptoms of like the flu and everything were all COVID symptoms because they were like so unsure of like what COVID was. Yeah, so when I went to 3 different hospitals, 3 separate times, and each time no one took blood work.
I was just going to ask, did they ever take blood work?
No, they didn't.
Because they do like CBC to...
Yeah, to check that. And they just treated me with a migraine cocktail because they were focused on my migraines.
And the migraine cocktail.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they did, and I waited many hours in Napanee, and then waited many hours in Ottawa, and in Kingston, and then eventually we got it figured out after 2 weeks. I went to my family doctor in Tamworth, and they tried to take blood, and I ended up passing out because I was just so ill.
Right.
And she sent me to Napanee that day, and they took blood, and they found out that it was leukemia.
So is there markers that show us what leukemia in the blood, like what's marking
Is
that?
leukemia a cancer of the blood?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can detect all cancer in blood work. A lot of cancer in blood work.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, is it your hemoglobin that's low? Is it high? Like what is the markers?
My hemoglobin was really low.
Yes.
And my platelets were low. Like all my blood work just showed that I was like really low.
Yeah.
And then they also like test for blast cells,
Okay.
which are your like leukemia, like cancer
cells.
cells. Yeah. And they test for those, and that came up that I had blast cells. So
And they were
that
quite
indicates-
high.
What was it like? I mean, so at the time you would have been 21.
21, yeah.
So like, what was it like being young and getting a diagnosis like that?
I was in shock for so long. Like I think the first 50 days that I was in the hospital, I was just like in shock that this was happening to me. Like it felt like a dream. I was really scared. I never thought that I'd be the one to get cancer, but then to think that you get it at 21, like when
Your
you're
life
so
is just
young.
beginning.
Exactly, yeah.
You're just about to graduate.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
goosebumps.
I had Mitch and I, my fiance now, but was my boyfriend at the time. Like we had just been dating for like 2 years. Oh, wow. So like we had
2
all
years
these.
is still a long time at 20.
It is.
You guys have been together a long time.
But we had like these, like we were in that level
Still in
of our
a-
relationship where we were like really excited for the future, and
Right.
like when I was going to be done school and stuff, like I was
Making a
almost
lot of
there,
plans.
moving in together and stuff like that, and that just kind of like got kiboshed right like when I got sick.
Just all your
right?
hopes and dreams are
Yeah.
now put on the side because I'm sick and I've lost control. So where is this going now?
Yes.
So you've received the diagnosis.
have a
What do
question. No, I have
the
a
next
question.
days look like?
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to ask because we were just on the topic of like how you were responding. Sorry, because I do want to hear about like the next couple of days, but I'm curious too, like how everyone around you felt, and
Yeah.
like also,
The energy.
yeah, how did you feel? Like did you carry that weight? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it was like it happened so fast, like that Friday that it all happened, and I went to Napanee Hospital, and then they transferred me to Kingston right away, and it was like 11:30 at night, and the restrictions had just started, like at Kingston
Right.
General, so I was only allowed one visitor in. So they transferred me to Kingston that night, and then I had my dad with me like in the ambulance on the way to Kingston, and then he went up to the room with me, and that's when I put my mom and my sister on the phone because they were in the parking lot outside the hospital, but they weren't allowed in
Right.
due to the restrictions. So I got the news that I had leukemia I got it with just my dad sitting there with me
And your family.
and my family on the phone. And so that was really hard. I think we were all in shock. Like originally, like when I was sick, my mom thought I had like mono or something like
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Your mind doesn't go to the most, that's severe of an illness.
Unless you
especially-
have hypochondria like I do. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, well, yeah,
But it's true,
But
yeah.
it's something you're like, it might cross your mind, but it's like, oh no, like there's many other
easy
things
to
that it could
dismiss.
be.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially when you're 21.
Yeah.
And
Like,
healthy.
yeah, and healthy.
Thriving.
Is that young for being diagnosed with leukemia?
So leukemia is typically really common in younger children, and then older adults, like over
Right.
60. So it is very uncommon for someone my age.
I think
get
Nurse
it,
Jackie's son has leukemia.
Yeah,
right?
we had,
We had her on the podcast.
Dr. Jackie on probably
Dr.
a year ago
Jackie.
now.
Sorry, Dr. Jackie.
And her son was also diagnosed with leukemia at a very young age. He's also in remission. But it was, I think it was shock that kind of set in, and a lot of the firsts are blurs, and then you kind of grieve the what should have beens and what, like you were saying with your fiance and things that you were supposed to be doing at the time, and you're soon to be graduating, and now you're faced with this huge crisis, essentially. What now, stage wise? Did they have a stage for you? Like stage? Do they stage that at all?
They don't really stage
Leukemia?
at leukemia, especially like my kind, acute lymphoblastic.
Okay.
Just because it's kind of hard because it's like circulating in your blood, right?
Yes.
But with acute lymphoblastic, it means that it comes on really fast and it progresses really fast.
Okay.
So those 2 weeks that I was trying to figure it out on like what was wrong with me, I was getting sicker and sicker as the weeks went along because it was progressing so fast. Rapidly. And they said that if I had even waited another week, that it could have been like really detrimental.
Wow.
So, it comes on really fast. So they didn't really give me a stage. They just said that I was very, very sick and that I needed to start treatment right away. Yeah.
So you arrived at that late of night, and what did the next couple of days look like for you?
So I didn't get a lot of sleep.
No.
I was up most of the nights. But the first night that I was there, they let my mom come in after my dad left, and she stayed over with me the first night. And they actually gave her, I was in a double room and the bed beside me was vacant. So they let her sleep in the actual bed,
they
which
are
was
wonderful.
really nice. Yeah. So the next couple days was a lot of like just talking with doctors and trying to figure out what like our plan was going forward. They started me on like oral medication of chemo like right away, like the next day pretty much. And there was a lot of conversations about fertility.
Okay.
Right.
So at 21, and with like my progression of my leukemia at the time, they said that there was no chance that like we had enough time to save my eggs and preserve them for later on because with chemo and all the treatment and everything that goes through your body, like it really just destroys your whole system and stuff. So at the time, I kind of had to make a decision that like I wasn't going to go forward with freezing my eggs or anything around fertility, that I just wanted to get started on treatment and get myself.
That's a really hard
myself.
decision to face, especially with all the conversations that it sounds like you were having at the time.
Yes, and I was still in shock about just having cancer in general. So
It's hard to make such big decisions in those moments of like such high stress.
yes, and it was almost like, do I wait a week or 2 weeks to
Be able to do this.
be able to do this, or do I just go forward and get started on treating myself, and the future we'll just figure it out when we get there, kind of thing.
That's
so
very brave of you.
yeah,
That's
you.
incredibly like I'm already starting to tear up like that. I couldn't imagine being faced with such a challenge in those first few moments of, okay, so now you're grieving you're sick, and now you're grieving potentially the loss of, you know, having the opportunity in the future.
Yeah.
But I think it's incredibly brave for you to be able to do what you've done.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh my goodness. So how was treatment for you?
It was
Such a stupid question, but I mean, Phyllis,
so the first bit of treatment, my first rounds of chemo, they wanted to do like pediatric chemo plan on me, just because it's more effective. It's like a little bit harsher, but it's like really effective.
Right.
Okay.
Instead of doing, because again, like I said, it's really common in younger children, and then older adults. So they could do the treatment plan that was made for younger children, which I was just like only a couple years off of, right? Or they could do the treatment plan that's less invasive, but takes longer to like feel the effects or whatever, that they use for like older adults who have leukemia.
Okay.
So we went with like the pediatric treatment, and so it was really, really tough on me. I was in the hospital for 50 days. I couldn't go home. and I couldn't have any visitors.
Especially during
couldn't have
COVID, like
visitors,
now
right.
your immunity is down. I remember because you were in hospital when I was in hospital with Gwendolyn.
Oh, okay.
And I would leave and I would often see your friends who outside of the hospital and holding signs for you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, it was just so moving and incredibly just like
Yeah.
so special that, because I know for me, my friends and my family got me through some of the hardest days of my life.
Yeah.
And I know how alone it was sitting in hospital during COVID, not having your support system 100%. Or only having them at designated times. So you're going through this and you can't even have the support system that you knowingly deserve to have. So yeah, they would all, I remember big signs outside. Was it the oncology floor? What floor were you on?
I was on Kid 9.
Okay,
So
yeah, the oncology floor. So it was facing kind of like the road.
Yes.
The parking lot. They're Queens, and yeah, they would always be out there, and it was
Yes.
just so incredibly moving. But because I know, like for my friends too, they grieved for me as well, and I'm sure they grieved for you too. It's such a scary time. So you were in hospital for 50 days, and then you went home.
Yes.
How
Were
was
you
that
done with your
transition?
treatment after that 50
So I
days?
was done with my first round of treatment. But during those 50 days, they were hell. They were the worst days of the whole 3
Was there ever
years.
times where you're like, I
Couldn't do it.
don't want to do this?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So many times. I just say to mom, because she was the only one there, that I just I don't know if I can keep doing this. It was tough. It was, had a lot of window visitors. My friends came, and they did this whole performance with my favorite song and changed the lyrics and put them on the Bristol boards and then held them up so I could see them from the 9th floor. And my cousins and my aunt and uncle would come, and they do at nighttime they'd do sparkler shows. And they'd run around with the sparklers and the signs, and those window visits were really
like a saving grace.
Helped you keep that mentality of I can do this.
Yes.
I will get through this.
Because during that first round of treatment, I got really, really sick, and I actually got 4 hospital infections.
That's right.
Yes.
Is that staph infections?
They were in my blood.
Okay.
I don't remember all 4 of them, to be honest. Again, during this time, I was so sick, and I was on a lot of
in and out.
A lot of drugs.
Your body's probably going septic, yeah?
Yeah, and so they cleared the infections, and then my right leg started to have excruciating pain. And we couldn't figure out why I was in so much pain, and I couldn't walk. I started to lose the function to walk on it. And it was just the worst pain ever. And come to find out, they sent me home with the pain, and then 5 days later I went in for a checkup, and I was still in so much pain in my right leg, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I said to them, I was we need to figure this out, because this is so hard on me, just not being able to walk and have that independence. And they came to find out that the infections that I had about a couple weeks ago had settled in my right leg and formed pockets with egg-shelled perimeter around them. And one was 10 centimeters, one was 8 centimeters.
10 centimeters?
Yeah.
Oh my
And one was
10
6
centimeters?
Yeah.
And
6.
8 and 6?
Yes. And they were all up in my upper part of my right leg. And my legs at this time were just huge from all the edema, because I wasn't able to walk. I was bedridden, and the fluid from the edema couldn't flow out of me properly because of the big infection pockets.
No kidding.
Wow, yeah, because I initially thought, you have a
pain.
blood clot, but
Yeah.
that's even
Yeah, so they had to do a procedure and drain them, all 3 of them. So I was in the hospital for another week and a half.
So on top of being sick and you just got home, and now you're coming in for a follow-up, hoping to go back home, and now you're readmitted.
Yes.
It's just so defeating.
Yes, it was really defeating. And I was actually readmitted on my birthday. Which we were like really excited to like have like a meal at home on my birthday, that I was going to be home for my birthday. And then the infection pockets happened and they kept me in for another week and a half to treat those. So that was very tough. That was a very tough time, the first spute of it. And
looking back, you're like, how the fuck did I
I'm
get through what I've got
honestly
through?
Yeah, I honestly look at it and I think, was I even the same person? Because like
you're not the same person going into that than you are now, right? Like we always go back to with Mike and Jarrett and the Untapped 16. You know, you're at your lowest, you've hit rock bottom's basement, and like you don't have any more to tap into. And then it's like the human body is so resilient to how much it can get tapped.
Yeah.
Be tapped, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when infection gets cleared up, are you able to go back home again?
Yes. So infection gets cleared up. My legs are slowly draining all the edema and the fluid out of my legs. So they're slowly getting smaller, back to their normal size, and then I have to relearn how to walk again.
Yes.
Right.
Because I couldn't walk when I had my infections. So that was a lot of physio and a lot of just little victories of if I could walk around the wraparound porch at my parents' house. That was great. And then we slowly moved it to walking down the driveway and back. Then we slowly moved it to walking a little bit down the road to the barn.
I do remember. Now, were you assisted with a walker at all?
I was.
Yes.
So I had a walker at first, and then I transferred into using a cane.
Okay.
Yep. So I had both of those. So yeah, I used the walker until I kind of could make it down to the driveway and back, and then after that, I transferred to the cane.
Because a lot of people say, you know, that is the first thing that goes is a lot of your muscle mass, a lot of your strength when you have been cooped up, even just for a few days.
Yeah.
Your body becomes, you know, very weak.
Yeah.
How did this Shae Strong movement come in? For those, you know, that aren't around this area, there was an incredible movement that supported Shae through her cancer with hashtags. And I remember shots for Shae. I remember doing that. I think Joey and Katie did it as well.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit about that movement and where it kind of stemmed from?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how it started. I think that, like, again, I was like cooped up in the hospital, and there was days that I was in it, and there's days I was not in it. Mm-hmm. And my friends just started to rally. I think it was Mitch's, like my fiance's dad, that kind of got me to start an Instagram page to share my story and share. It was just kind of a good way to share all of the information and everything that was going on instead of people texting my mom consistently.
It could be very healing for you too.
Yes, it was a good outlet for me to kind of express how I was feeling through the process.
Yes.
And people could keep up to date. And then from there, I had to shave my head. And when I shaved my head, all my guy friends from high school all shaved their heads too.
That's right.
And then my fiance and his brother and his dad shaved their head. And then I think from there, that's when like the firefighters in Tamworth got some inspiration and they wanted to do something as well. So my dad has been on the fire department for in Tamworth for years, my whole life, and my sister just joined about 3 years ago as well. So they've always been like a second family to us. So they wanted to show their support. So they did the Shave It for Shae. So all the departments wanted to shave their heads for me and raise some money to support me. And we're like the type of family that we don't like to receive the help. Like we don't
to be the help.
Yeah.
You want to be the help. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was really hard for us to like accept that these people wanted to help us, but it was also like very like so wonderful that so many people were reaching out at such a like really difficult time for everybody in our lives, right?
Moving, yes.
So, and then honestly, the shots for Shae, I don't know how that snowballed. There was like a 3-shot challenge that was going on around that time, on Facebook, and then someone like changed it and said, I'll take 3 shots and I'm gonna donate $20 to the Shae thing that was going on like in a couple weeks. And then it started to be like, take 3 shots and donate $20, and then it started to be shots for Shae and not the 3-shot challenge. And then just so many people started to pick up on it and stuff, and it was so entertaining. I would say that was so much fun to watch everybody. Obviously, I
mean, 3 shots in a row. Yeah.
And
the third. Woo.
Yeah. And I remember just being so bored at home, like just recovering and going through treatment and stuff. And the one night that it really blew up and like everybody was doing the shots and getting nominated, we just sat there on the couch and screen played our phone to our TV, and we just watched one after the other, and we watched literally all of Stone Mills get drunk that night with the 3 shots and supporting me, and it was really wonderful.
I bet it's so like heartwarming just to know like how far your impact spreads, right? I think that we do have such a small community, and when someone in the community is struggling or suffering, it's definitely a community that I think wants to help and wants to, you know, I think it's hard in these situations to know in what way. I'm glad it could be entertainment at least for you.
Yes.
And the money raised, that's great. Yeah, I do remember that very vaguely now because I didn't really drink then. So
Yeah.
it was probably like after one.
I think you guys nominated me. It was you, Brittany, Kyle, and Joey, and I was in Toronto at the time with Gwendolyn and doing shots in the hotel room. I don't even know. I think it was just like a seltzer I had because I wasn't like sipping on Pink Whitney in the hotel room, even though there was many days I wanted to do that. So what did it look like? So you're gaining your strength. You know, there's this huge, incredible movement. We're still in COVID.
You were in remission at this point, or were you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
So I was starting my 2nd round of treatment. So that was all kind of like May. And then for the whole summer, we just kind of got started with, they told me I needed a stem cell transplant. So first thing they do with the process of a stem cell transplant is they test your siblings to see if they're a match, because your best match is your sibling to go for first. There's like only a 25% chance that your sibling is going to be a match.
Wow, that's low.
And I actually met many people in the hospital who were going through the same thing, going for a stem cell transplant. And one guy had 5 siblings and none of them were a match.
Wow.
So I was just really, really fortunate that I only have one sister, and Callista, and she was my match. So it was extra special that like I was going through this like huge transplant, but my sister was going to be like my saving grace, and she was going to be my hero and save me and donate her stem cells for me. So
how far apart are you and Callista?
How far, sorry?
Like
In age.
Yeah.
In age, there's 3 years between
3
us.
years.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys are very close.
We are very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's my best friend.
I'm gonna cry again.
So yeah, that was like the whole summer I was just doing treatment, chemo, going in every day, driving from Tamworth to Kingston.
Very exhausting.
Even that's exhausting.
Yeah, it was, and then we'd be there all day getting chemo, getting blood transfusions, getting platelets, like everything. And then eventually in August 2020, I went up for my stem cell transplant. And
what do they do for that? Is that like, so Callista, what did she have to prep for?
So, yeah, so it really isn't. So I'm like a huge advocate for stem cell donations and people getting on the registry, because there's like this big thing about that people think that it's this invasive procedure, but it really isn't. Like it's changed so much over the years. Okay. So all she had to do is obviously get matched, and then she had to get a lot of blood work done and everything like that, just to make sure she's healthy, doesn't have any underlying illnesses or anything like that. And then the day before my transplant, she went up and she got her blood taken. It was about an 8-hour process, and you just kind of lay in a hospital bed. You can bring like your phone, you can bring a movie to watch or whatever, because it is a long day, and you're hooked up to this machine, and it's an IV through one arm and then an IV in another arm. And what it does, it kind of just it takes your stem cells out, like all the blood, takes it through the machine. The machine separates the stem cells from the blood, and then it circulates the blood right back into you.
right.
So it's just an 8-hour process of that. Calista said it was very, very easy.
She's brave to like go through that.
Yeah.
Too, especially if you don't have the education. Right?
On like what it was going to be like
Yes.
and stuff. Yeah, she was very brave, and she stood up right away when they said we need to test a sibling. She was like, right away, I want to be that. I want to be that for you. So yeah, and then the next day I got the infusion of her stem cells, and I started my 100-day journey with my stem cell transplant.
It takes 100 days to do that, or is it like
It's
we don't
for it
know
to
what stem
fully-
cells are.
Yeah, I would love to dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
So 100 days, what does that mean?
So 10 days before your transplant date, you go up and you receive it's like pre-transplant chemotherapy. So it's really, really strong chemo. And then they also did 3 days of radiation, morning and afternoon. So I did it 6 times. And that is just to kind of wipe you right out.
Okay.
They want to wipe you completely clean with the chemo, the radiation, so that you're like fresh for when your stem cells come, like when you
Okay.
get your stem cells. So then I get my so it's like 10 days before you do that whole like prep.
Yeah.
And then you get your wipe clean, and then you also need to like have like pretty much be in remission, not really in remission, but you get a lot of chemo so that it's like your blast cells are like lower, and so that you're like nice and clean, and they can
The new
insert
ones
the
can come
new
in.
stem cells into you. Yeah.
Okay. Does your body want to reject them?
Yes. So the whole 100 days after is like being monitored and staying up in Ottawa, close to the
Okay.
hospital.
Chio?
Not Chio, just because I was over 18.
Okay.
So Ottawa General.
Okay.
And so I get some chemo about 10 days after, up to 10 days after I receive my transplant. And they monitor you, they give you blood transfusions, they top you up. And there is a thing called graft versus host disease.
Okay.
And that's where your body can start rejecting
Okay.
rejecting the cells and stuff. So they monitor that, and they treat you for that when the side effects kind of pop
And did
up.
that happen for you?
Yes. The one nasty thing about stem cell transplants is that about 10 days after the transplant, you start to get mouth sores. Really bad mouth sores that I will admit that I didn't brush my teeth for at least a week.
No kidding.
Because they were
Blame me,
just
you're probably in so much pain.
so painful. Yeah.
Like even a canker sore, like one little canker sore, you're just like, this is the worst thing
What
ever.
an interesting side effect.
I know, eh? And so it was really hard to eat. So I would like only eat like yogurt and applesauce and stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
easy stuff to get down. But they go away after a week or so, but they are tough. Some people, they get so bad because they get like right into their throat that they need a feeding tube.
Right.
But I was just fortunate enough with both stem cell transplants that I had that I never needed a feeding tube.
Yeah.
There was a couple times that they were insisting that I get it, and I said no. I was like,
push
nope,
through.
I'm gonna push
It's
through.
wild to
yeah.
hear you say I was fortunate enough to, like, amongst everything you were going through, right?
Yeah.
To, like, be having that perspective now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Because there's just
Yeah.
such a wide spectrum of individuals that, you know, there's like the diagnosis, but what you experience, what you go through, and you've probably met a lot of people along the way as well that have
Yes.
been.
I have met a lot
you.
of people along the way. Some of the most meaningful relationships I've ever had
Yes.
have been some people that I've met in the hospital.
Yep.
And you kind of form like a little group of you when you are all going through a transplant together, because you're up on the floor every day getting checked and you see each other a lot, right?
Right.
And so you're also staying at the residence at the hospital together, isolating yourselves.
Yeah.
So
You're part of this community now.
yeah, and we would talk about kind of our side effects and like what they were experiencing, contrast to like what I was experiencing, and a lot of them had a really tough go with the side effects and the graft versus host after the transplant. Usually, I would say the first 30 days is the worst after the transplant. You're so tired, you're so sick, and you have all these side effects that you're just trying to deal with one side effect, and then another one comes up, and so it's just a little disheartening. So I would like compare with them, and I don't know, I felt I was lucky with the side effects that I had. I really didn't have as worse of graft versus host as some of my other friends that I had met up there. But then again, I'm not discrediting like how difficult my graft versus host was as well. But I think just because I was younger and a lot of the people I met up there were older, so they just had a little bit more of a tough time.
Your body was kind of a little bit
connected with them.
Yes,
now?
I do. I have them all on social media and Facebook and stuff. And
That's great.
Yeah, we're all going through kind of like we're all in recovery and remission now, and it's nice to see that. Yeah.
When you finished this stem cell transplant, at that point, were you in remission? Like, how does that work? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So do they just immediately consider you in remission? Or is it like a...
I consider myself like, because it's kind of hard to tell because you're still kind of getting chemo after the transplant and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would consider myself in remission at my transplant date.
Right.
So I always celebrate that date.
Great.
Yeah.
It's like a rebirth.
Yes, yeah. But there's so many dates now because I've had so many transplants.
Right.
And
So that wasn't your first stem cell transplant?
that was my first one.
That was your first, but it's not your only?
Yes.
Okay.
So after that transplant, I was good for a year. I got home from Ottawa. So I had the transplant in August 2020. I got home from Ottawa in late November 2020. So we were up there from September, like from the end of August to November, up in Ottawa. Again, no visitors, only outside, because of just like the isolation and how immunocompromised you are when you are going through a transplant.
Absolutely.
And then October 2021, I started to feel like not myself again. Really tired. The headaches came back. I knew something was wrong, and that's when I relapsed again. And that was like a quick turnaround where they were like, we're going to pump you with some chemo really quickly, and then we're going to send you away, and we're going to do this new transplant that's called a CAR T transplant. Okay. And that's what I did in December 2021.
Was Callista part of that as well?
What is a CAR T transplant?
So a CAR T transplant is like a newer transplant that's kind of come to Canada in the last, like, I guess 10 years.
Okay.
And what they do is they take your immune cells, so your T cells, and they take them. So I had the same kind of procedure that Callista had when she was donating her cells to me. I sat in the bed, a hospital bed. I had the machine, and they cycled through and they collected my T cells. And then they send your T cells away. And they were away for about a month. And when they're away, they train those cells to fight cancer cells.
That's wild.
Yeah, and then then you get your cells back, and they insert them back into you, and now they're trained to fight the cancer cells. Yeah,
they just return them to you. They're like, we're gonna be just a couple, like, little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna be a little bit.
We're gonna come back a little bit more kick ass for you.
Yeah, we're gonna train them. They're gonna be all jacked up and ready to go.
Ready to go with armor. That's so wild that they can do that. So you've received this, you've been through all of this crap, and now you were in recovery mode, and now you're having these side effects.
Had the CAR T.
And now it's like, but I want to know when it was confirmed that, okay, they're back. What went through your mind?
Like when I relapsed and when they told me.
Like, how did you not just want to burn that fucking place down?
Oh, believe me, I was distraught. I was like, I just did all this and
Yeah,
now you want me to do it again?
Yeah. I was just getting myself back again.
Yeah, I felt like my hair was growing back, like I was back to
being
my
myself,
normal reality.
Shae before the cancer.
Exactly. And I was like just working on finishing up school.
Yes.
Because I wasn't able to finish when I was first diagnosed. So I was just finishing up my last couple courses and I felt like I was finally back and
getting your groove back.
Yeah, it was like getting hit by a truck.
Oh, over and over and over again.
Yeah. And I just remember like the sink in my stomach, like my stomach just sunk and I was like like I couldn't even catch my breath.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
It's like, do I want to sink right now or do I have it in me to swim?
Yeah, and it's just like that moment of like realization that you come to and you're like, well, I got to do this or I'm going to die. Like there's I don't have an option.
That was powerful. Like, I have to do this or I'm going to die.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it sucks, but you got to do it again. So, yeah, it was quite an emotional
What did that ride look for you? You did this
when you finished
treatment.
the CAR T?
Yeah, CAR T.
Is that when you be in remission right after that again?
Yeah.
So it was shorter than your first.
It was shorter.
time.
So it was only about 60 days up in Ottawa.
Okay.
For that one.
Still a long time.
Still a long time. We were there over Christmas. Okay. I remember I was literally in the hospital. I spiked a fever on Christmas Eve. So I was.
You have great dates.
I know. Yes, I do remember them very vividly. So, yeah, it was up there. Got home in February. And yeah, we were. I was good. I was living life. I got a dog.
This was 2022 then?
Now we're in 2022. Yeah.
Okay, February.
You got it.
And I was
What's your dog's name?
Todd. He's a little corgi.
Yes, little corgi bums are so cute.
Yes, they were my favorite type of dog my whole life. And I was like, you know what? I've been through so much. I deserve like a therapy pet.
Oh, you're gonna get and they save your life.
Yes, and so I was like, I can get a dog, and that was like kind of the agreement between Mitch and I. We were like, he's like, you can get through this. Once you get through this, we'll get a dog. We'll get your favorite. You get to pick the breed. You get to pick the name. Everything. It's your dog. So yes, that March we got a dog, and then that May 2022 is when I relapsed again
for the third time.
For the third time. Yes.
Same migraines.
Yes. They caught it a little earlier. So I was having some migraines, but I didn't actually realize that I was
getting sick again.
Yeah. So they did catch it. It was just at a routine checkup appointment. And I remember I was having such a good day that day. Mom was always with me at every appointment. Yes. And
what an angel.
They gave me my printout of my blood work because we always took our printout so that we could look back and compare and contrast different times that my blood was at a certain point or whatever. And I looked at the bottom and it had the word blast cells at the bottom and it had a number beside it. And I was like, what's this mean? This is never on my blood work. And they pulled me into a room and told me that means that there's cancer cells in my blood. So I think that time was the hardest emotionally, obviously after going through it twice and then finding out that you have to do it again after, you thought the last time was the last time. That was tough.
It's like, how many last times do we have to have?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's still something that I struggle with even now today, is that I'm 2 years in remission and I still have like a little bit of a gut feeling that like, am I going to be surprised again? Am I going to get shocked by being sick again and relapsing again?
Do you think this is something you'll live with for your whole life, thinking?
I really think
what
it
ifs?
is. Yeah, I think it is. Just with relapsing so many times and in the like time length between getting better and then relapsing, like I had enough time to like really think that I was good and that I was in the clear. So it was kind of like that false hope.
Feels like a very unfair spot to be.
And kind of I felt it was even more unfair that I kind of just got settled back into reality and like real life to then just get knocked down again. So yeah, that was really tough. And then after that time that I relapsed, they told me that I did immunotherapy for a while instead of chemo, just to try another regime, like another regimen or whatever. And then did some more chemo. And then they told me that I would need a stem cell transplant again.
Wow.
And I think it really hit me when they told me that I had to go through another stem cell transplant, because at that point I was like, I can do the chemo. Like I can keep pushing through the chemo. That's not the hard part. It's the transplant. That's the hard
And
part.
how long it takes.
How long it is, the mental state, like that you have to be in to be so isolated up there for so long. Like it literally was just my mom and I.
Yeah.
And then we were so fortunate with the first stem cell transplant that we were able to have outdoor visits, because it was end of August, September kind of thing.
But
then this had hit, and we were going, our projected time to go for the transplant was December. So we were going to be completely isolated up there all winter. And then just knowing what to expect and knowing how hard it was the first time made it almost harder.
Right.
Because I had all these worries. I was like scared that I was going to get the mouth sores again, you know? Like
you can be like, what's the word? When you,
never
like
like-
optimistic when you don't know, but when you do know,
it's hard to stay
It's hard to
optimistic.
hold on to that hope. Like, it's like hope is all we have. But, like, how many times do I have to get hit with this? And how many times, you know, how hopeful can I be?
Did Callista donate the third time?
No. So what they decided was that they were going to go with a donor off the registry for the second stem cell transplant. They wanted to try something new. They thought that maybe Callista was just way too genetically similar to me.
Right.
So when they're looking for a match, they're looking for a 10 out of 10 match. And there's a bunch of different genetic things and codes that we all have.
Blueprints.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that they match up with somebody else to make sure that you are a 10 out of 10. And they thought that maybe Callista was just too perfect of a match.
She's like a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, and they wanted to take someone off the registry and see if that maybe would make a difference with like how successful my stem cell transplant would be. So it was a little bit of a longer process getting ready for the stem cell transplant because we had to go the donor route. We had to go get someone off the registry. We had to make sure, they had to go through their whole process, right?
First.
So we had to wait for that and stuff. And then I believe they were frozen. So with Callista's stem cells, she had her extraction the day before my transplant. So they didn't need to freeze them. It was just fresh, yeah. With these ones, they had to freeze them. So I'm not sure if they were able to do it a couple weeks before or if they're from somewhere overseas or something.
Wow.
So you don't know anything about like your donor info?
I don't know anything. So they say after 2 years, after your transplant, you can inquire and reach out and see if they would like to meet you. So I'm in that process right now.
I was just going to say,
Okay,
is that
that's
something
exciting.
you would do?
Yes. I hit my 2 years on December 9th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm in the process of trying to meet them. Yes.
That's
and hopefully they want to meet me too.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I feel like that if going in and doing something like this, so incredible to just to give like that. I really hope they would want to as well.
Yeah.
Did it take
I'm
better
excited
this
to see
third
how
time
it-
than the first?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the longest I've been in remission.
Okay.
Since
In how many
2020.
years? Since 2020.
Since 2020, yeah. All the times before I relapsed, it was only a year or a couple months.
Right.
So this is the longest I've gone.
That's exciting.
So yeah, I just keep hoping that it's just gonna keep going. And
Do you continue, I guess, with like oncology and blood work, or how does that work? Like, do you,
What is the healing journey now for you look like?
I guess, maintenance journey? Actually,
Yeah, maintenance
right?
journey,
Like,
but also mentally, I think, and emotionally healing for you as well. What does that look like?
Yeah. So for first little while, I was going in pretty much every couple weeks. They let you, once you come home from Ottawa, they check up with you in Kingston.
Yeah.
So I go to, there's a stem cell unit on the Kid 9 floor that I go to them. And they're just like a small little unit that kind of works with stem cell transplants because they will do, you can have a stem cell transplant and use your own cells
Yeah.
instead of a donor cells. I don't know much about that process.
Okay.
But they do those transplants in Kingston. It's just the ones with like a donor. You have to go to like Ottawa or Toronto.
Okay.
So I go up there. I would go up there. They do blood work. They kind of check in on me, ask me a bunch of different questions about just like mental health, how my physical health is doing kind of thing, any side effects that have come up. Because graft versus host can linger over a couple years after your transplant. So I would just go there and it felt like pretty normal, like to go there every 2 weeks. And then now that like my check-ins are now, they went to like every month, and now they're like every 2 months, and now they're like every like 4 months now. So I find that the further away that my appointments go, the harder it is for me to actually get to the hospital.
Yeah.
And when I do go to the hospital, it's like really traumatic for me.
Right.
Because I'm getting back into reality. I'm like living my life, like everything. And then it kind of just like hits me like a brick wall when I walk back in there, and I'm like, oh, wait, like I was sick. Like it all kind of comes back to
Like
you.
a lingering fear.
It's
How
like
does it
desensitizing
feel,
to yourself again.
How does it feel like talking about it now? I'm not sure. Like, obviously you have a lot of friends and family that went through it with you, but like, have you kind of like relived this story recently, or how does it feel talking about it now?
I'm always like open to talking about my story because like it is a part of me and it's really changed who I am, for the better. But it is difficult to look back and just like remember how hard it was and what I've been through. In a way, when I look back, it really inspires me, and it like makes me remember like how tough of a person I am and how strong I
Resilience.
am.
Yeah.
But then I also look back and it scares me.
Yeah.
Because of just how hard it was, and I'm scared that I will come back, that this isn't the last time, because every time I've thought it was the last time and then I've relapsed. But I think that's something that it's going to take more than a couple years to like work through. And I have like a really good support system, and I have a really good like social worker that works at the cancer center. Yeah, she like works specifically with people who have had cancer, and she's from the cancer center at Kingston General. So she's been wonderful, and she just kind of helps me like work through like the emotions and my feelings on like
They're all validated.
Yeah.
Because you're on such a shock, and then when everything kind of goes to rest, your brain starts replaying those moments and those memories, and you are being desensitized. Every time you walk in, you're being triggered again.
Yes.
To that environment. That was so scary at one point, right?
Yes.
And still so scary.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to a hospital for those reasons.
Yeah. And originally, like when I was thinking about like what I wanted to do with my degree, originally after like the first dose of cancer, after my first transplant, I was like, oh, I'd love to be a social worker and work in the hospital and help those who also have been going through cancer. And I have like such personal experience. But then now, the more that I like am out of like my transplants and out of that life and that stage of my life, I don't think I could work in the hospital.
Understood. Yeah.
I don't think I could be there every day because it's just like
It's too personal.
Yeah.
Probably for what you're going through. It's too personal. It's like people who like want to work with kids, and then they have kids, and then they can no longer
work with kids.
work with kids, right? I'm curious. Sorry, Mary, I don't want to cut you off.
No. Keep going.
Shay knows I need to ask her. I'll forget.
Good.
I'm curious about, because I was going to ask about your degree and kind of like what your plans are, what you're doing now. I'm curious, like when you say like it's not the same Shay that like went into it, how do you feel this experience is really impacting you? Obviously there's fear. Is there any like shift that you've had about like the way you're living your life, making plans still?
Yeah, I make I feel that I need to like have something to look forward to. So I like to make like little plans like every couple months. So
Yeah.
like whether it be like a little trip or
If you
some
want to go on a trip, let me know.
Katie's actively looking.
well, I mean like this
Seeking my ad right now, seeking a trip partner.
But you're right. When you've been so down, you need something to just little things, increments of feel goods.
Yes, exactly. And like I think too another way I've really picked up running
Okay,
Yes,
as
I've
a
seen
passion
that.
of mine.
It's wild that you had a walker and now you're running.
Exactly. That
You just ran a marathon, didn't
Half
you?
marathon.
Half a
Yeah.
marathon.
and that's where Mitch actually proposed to me.
Yes.
Okay, I saw.
I knew
He
this.
ran the half marathon with me without much training at all. Let me say, I trained for over a year, and the guy's just a natural athlete, right?
Yeah.
So he just went out there and ran it, and I was like, I've just been training forever, but no, he ran it with me, and then he proposed to me at the finish line.
Did you have any idea?
Not really. No, I had like a little idea that he was gonna propose soon. I didn't know that it was
How
gonna be at
beautiful.
the race.
And your family was there?
My family was there. My mom, my dad, my sister, and then his mom and dad were there too. So it
Amazing.
was very special. And then I had a couple of my close friends came and supported me
Celebrated
for the race, and then they
Yeah.
were just there for the engagement too. So yeah, so running has been a really big part of my life recently.
Big healing part.
It has
healing journey.
been.
Yeah.
I think I started when I was just recovering at home after my last transplant. I was just so bored, and I had this dog. I was like, we got to do something. So we started walking, and I had gained extra weight before my last transplant because I knew how much weight I could lose,
Yeah.
and I wanted to have like that base just in case I didn't want to get sick. So I was like, after the transplant, I didn't end up losing all that weight. So I was like, I need to like do something here to like get back to
Maintain.
my
Yeah.
body, get my body
Yeah.
back, right? Get the muscle back. So me and my dog Todd would walk like
Todd.
like 8 kilometers a day. Like we
Wow.
just go for
I can
long,
just picture his
long
little
walks.
legs.
Little legs, yeah. And eventually that turned into like going to the gym and doing the elliptical to get the kind of the momentum back of that like arm, leg,
Movement.
arm, leg. Yeah.
Right.
And then I slowly just started to trot and run, and it was like a very slow process into getting to run because I had to gain all that muscle back. But I finally got there, and I started running, and now it's like my therapy.
What an
I
accomplishment.
love it.
Did you? I couldn't imagine just running and what's going through your head at those moments of like, there was at one point where I could barely walk. There's one point where I didn't think I would see this.
Yeah.
Like how, and somebody who's lost and grieved, you know, our stories are so different, but being in the position of how precious life is, it changes you and your
does.
perspective on life and what really matters. And, you know, and I can resonate when you say you really need to take your time and use it wisely with enjoying the little things too, or planning for bigger things as well.
Yeah.
When is our wedding date?
When is her wedding?
Speaking of planning big things,
July 31st, 2027.
And you just said yes to the dress?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
No,
you didn't? No,
no.
you were up. Sorry.
I
You
was
were
just
up.
shopping.
You were just shopping around.
Yeah.
Was that in Toronto?
That was in Toronto. We did a weekend in Toronto.
so
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah, we got lots of time, but I think too, like, it's just very special because Mitch was there for me. Like, we were together 2 years before
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
diagnosed. And then when I did get diagnosed, I was like, how are we going to get
Couldn't
through
see
this,
him
right?
either,
Yeah.
right? You were away.
And I did tell him, I said, you know what? This is a lot. This is a lot. Your girlfriend just got diagnosed with cancer at 21. Like, if you can't do this, you can go. Like, I would not judge you at all. Like,
is
this
a
is tough. And he stayed. He was like, no, I want to stay. I want to be there for you. And he stayed through not 1, not 2, but 3 cancer diagnoses. And then we like just propelled out of that, right? And we're still going strong, and I think it's just like so special that he chose the one thing that I'm so passionate about and something that I've like really like poured my heart into, like, which was running. He chose that moment, that big moment of like, I was gonna finally, I couldn't walk 3 years ago, but now I'm running a half marathon, and he chose that moment to propose, and I thought that
You're
was
running
like
to
really
your,
special.
your future
That's special.
husband.
Like
very
truly
special.
like unconditional love. That sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, very excited.
Congratulations.
Movie.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are so excited to have had you and to have, take this opportunity to share your story. Before we end things off, I don't know, Katie, like if you have anything more, but what if somebody is going through what you've went through in 2020, do you have any words of wisdom or any advice you could give them in that moment, those hard moments?
I say enjoy, like, celebrate the little moments and the little victories, because they do mean a lot and they're important. I think just keep, I don't know.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah, you can do it.
Even when you think
And
you
like
can't.
lean on your supports, because they're there, and they're there for a reason, and lean on others who may be going through it with you, and at the same time, or reach out to those supports. I always like to keep my Instagram open, so that anybody who is from all over the world, like if they ever want to like connect with me, I'm always there to give them like that support, or give them like a little bit of advice from like my point. But like one thing that Mom and I always did was like, we were just like, we're just going to take it day by day.
Moment by moment sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and just, you can't think about a week from now, you can't think about a month from now. You just, in that moment when you're going through it, you got to think about, you just got to get through this day. And hopefully I have a good day this day, and if it's not, you have another day the next, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have Joe put your Instagram in the video.
Yeah, link it in. And thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
joining
joining
us
us,
and
Shae.
sharing that. And Shae, strong, and
Thank
you're
you
gonna
so
do
much
incredible
for having
things.
me, guys,
We're
and let
happy
me share my
to.
story.
On the couch. Having you on the
On the couch.
Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe, because we always forget to say that. So.
Yes, like and subscribe to our channel. And again, thank you for all being here.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank
Bye.
you.